Hi guys, and welcome to another episode. Today we're going to talk about all of the do's and don'ts when it comes to finding staff and employing staff. And as I mentioned in the previous video, there are certain programs in Ontario where they give you the funding to hire your own PSWs, attendants, and nurses, and you just have to set up all the things because you're the manager, so you have to figure out how to recruit people, how to administer contracts, and all of those things. So we'll deal with the main do's and don'ts on hiring your own home care staff. Do not ask private questions. So the Human Rights Commission of Ontario does have a list of questions that you're not allowed to ask during the interview, and those can include questions about age, citizenship, gender, race, religion, sexual orientation, disability, family status, marital status, sex, and pregnancy. You also can't ask somebody if they've been arrested, but you can ask if they've been convicted of a crime, especially if it's a crime that it would, affect their, whether or not you would employ them at your home and stuff. I've also asked many of my applicants to provide me with a personal reference check, which is specifically a vulnerable persons check, which is a type of criminal record check, but specifically in a setting that is you are working with a vulnerable person. With attendant care and PSWs and private nursing in your home, you can say that you prefer to work with one gender over another, whether that be religious preferences or personal preferences. That one category is allowed to have an exemption, and so even in the ad you can say I prefer female applicants only. I don't know what the laws and specific guidelines are for somebody who is transgender or non-binary, whether you can only say as somebody that identifies as a female versus somebody who's biologically female. So I would definitely ask your local labor board before you enter that type of category and make sure that you're not, liable for anything. Do mention all important information about your home. It's important to mention certain things to applicants just so they get a sense of idea of the type of work environment that they're signing up for. So if you have any pets, even if they're a service pet, some people are allergic, and that's information that they would need to know. If there's access to public transportation near your home or place of work, like wherever the setting of the attendant care or nursing care is. If there's parking near your residence, and if it's free or if it's paid parking. Whether or not you smoke or vape indoors, that can affect other people's respiratory, and so they will definitely want to know whether or not you or anybody in your household smokes indoors. If there's a lot of stairs in your unit, like some people may have second story, third story, or they may have walk-ups of the apartment, so it's important to select the applicants if they have also limited mobility, what type of neighborhood that you live near for commuting purposes, like if it's a few blocks away versus a 35-40 minute drive from their house to your house. That would be something that they would take into consideration if they want to work for you. And do not interview in your home. It is very important to not interview anywhere in your home. If you want to do in-person meetings and interviews, that's totally fine. But I would suggest either having it in a place that is a local library, or maybe a quieter coffee shop, because you have to be able to hear the person when you're doing the interview. But the less people that know your address, the better, especially if they're applicants that don't get the job. And guess what? They know where you live. So that's not ideal and that's not safe. And for me, I've always done online interviews predominantly through Zoom or Google Hangout because they're free. You can get 30 minutes on Zoom, and you can get 1 hour free on Google Hangouts, and it's platforms that everybody really has, especially Google Hangouts. Most people have a Google account so they can log into Google Hangouts, and so it's an easy option to be able to do the interview in a safe environment and the comfort from your own home. Do mention all important information about yourself. So there's also important information that you should mention about yourself personally, like whether or not you also smoke or vape. I think that's something that I've heard a lot of applicants say in the past that they felt uncomfortable in other people's homes. They do that. Are you fully vaccinated? It's something that applicants will look for. They can't legally ask you, and you can't legally ask them. But it's something that if you volunteer, then they might have a sense of like whether or not they want to work with you. Also, if you have severe allergies, like I know many people who have a severe allergic reaction to peanuts, so they can't even have it in the air. So that's something you would want to mention to applicants, that if you cannot even have a food in your environment or in your home because it would trigger your allergy, that's information they need to know. If you rather not have certain foods in your home as well because of religious reasons, like if you do not want pork to be in your house, that is something that you should mention to the applicants, just so they get the idea of what type of situation that the house will be, and whether or not you live with your parents or you live with a partner, because again, that's another person in the house. Most people are okay with it, but like you do not want to for them to find out when they're coming up to training. Giving people as much information beforehand so that both of you are well equipped to go into the next chapter of the training process and the employment process. Do not use informal platforms of any kind. Now, I love social media just as much as the next person, but do not use it as a platform to hire people, because it's not the environment to have serious applicants. And even outside of social media, websites like Kijiji, I know people have used it in the past to either post for jobs, or when people are looking for jobs, they'll post like the type of jobs they're looking for. Do not do that unless you want truly sketchy people to be applying to work with you. I think it's best to work with platforms where there is a type of vetting process in which only serious applicants will do it, like Indeed, or going through even LinkedIn. That's the one social media app I think I would definitely use to hire applicants, because they make them give you a resume and cover letter. And other places is just, if you have an informal platform, then usually you get less serious applicants than the formal platforms. Do use word of mouth. Another great option is to try and use word of mouth, because I've gotten a lot of great applicants through staff I've already have. They know of friends, they know of family, they know of people that have really great assets to do this type of job, and usually they'll be a lot more beneficial, because you don't have to look through strangers. You have somebody that you trust referring to somebody else that you will probably also trust. And I've had a lot of applicants this way, and 99% of the time it's worked brilliantly. So try and use your current staff to try and get newer and more applicants. Do reach out to program staff. Now, if you live in a town or city that has either a university, a college, or ideally both, then definitely reach out to program staff to see if they can email your job ad to their students. I first did that when I went on direct funding, because I live literally a few minutes from a university. So I contacted their nursing department and their physio and occupational therapy and general just health side department. And I was like, hey, I have a disability. I'm looking for applicants to work with me as a PSW / attendant. So do you mind sending this job out? And they're like, yeah, absolutely, go for it. And that's a relationship I've had over the past almost 2 decades. And I've also posted in the local university's job portal as well, which is, I think, it's an excellent option. Sorry for the stutter. It's an excellent option also for you to do, because when you go through the job portal of the college or university, then the entire faculty and the entire students of that place will be able to look at your job ad and apply to your job ad. In some cases, even alumni can still get into the job portal at their previous university and college, and there they will find your job ad as well. So it is an amazing resource, is to reach out to your local university and college and tap that resource for the applicants for PSW or even nursing positions. Do trust your gut, always. It's okay to have applicants that you're just not gelling with. And if something in your stomach that says, you know what, this person is not going to be a good fit, because you're spending so much one-on-one time with them, and in many cases in a vulnerable state, if the person just makes you feel uncomfortable, then go with another applicant. And I know that many people, if they are short of applicants, they try and make it work even if it doesn't work. But you don't want to be uncomfortable in your own home, and you don't want to have somebody around, not just you, but all your personal information in terms of your banking cards and like your banking information that you don't trust. So if it feels off, just say no and move on to another applicant, because it would be better off than having to fire somebody or let them go after the fact. Do not hire anyone that does not have references. Now, this might seem like an obvious thing, but you'd be surprised how many applicants that I've gone through an interview process, and after I interview, I'm like, okay, well, the next stage is for me to get your references and for me to message them separate questions so that I can get a sense of what your work ethic and what you're like in order to move on to the next stage. And they have said to me they have no references whatsoever. And I'm like, that is sketchy. I'm sorry, but like, even if it's like your first time job, you would have references in the form of teachers, in the form of coaches, or any type of extracurricular volunteer positions, because in high school you do have to do a certain number of hours to volunteer in order to graduate. So the fact that somebody doesn't have any references whatsoever, and even worse, if they have an employment history, which I've seen on a few occasions where people have worked in retail, hospitality, healthcare system, and still have absolutely no resources and no references, then that tells you all you need to know. That tells you that this is a person that you do not need to work with, and you just need to keep it moving. Do make clear contracts. Now, this is also a very important topic, which is to set out in your contract what exactly are the expectations, what are your expectations for them, their expectations for you, and everything in between. Like I have a thick contract, and it's thick because there's so much different information that you need to put on there in terms of like sick days, holiday pay, all of those things. And especially like one thing that I found really tricky if you have specifically overnight staff is how to issue holiday pay. Like in Ontario, they usually recommend that somebody gets holiday pay if their shift starts on a holiday rather than if it ends on a holiday. So for instance, Canada Day, if your shift started at 11 p.m. on June 30th, then it's not considered a holiday, even if your shift ends, let's say, at 9 a.m. on July 1st. And therefore, the majority of the hours were on July 1st, but it started in June. Whereas the other way around, if somebody has like their shift start on 11 p.m. on July 1st, but it ends at like 7 or 8 a.m. July 2nd, they get their entire shift of holiday pay because their shift started on a holiday. Now, there's not a rule that's set in stone. You can make it for yourself of whether or not you want the shift to end on a holiday or begin on a holiday, but that's something that you need to put in your contract, as well as everything else, so that every person's clear on the policy, the guidelines, and the expectations. Do set clear boundaries and expectations. Now, going off of the previous topic, it's also to make sure to not only have those expectations, but keep with it. So to have clear boundaries with your staff and to stick to those boundaries, because it's really easy when you're working one-on-one with somebody in your home, in your personal environment, to develop a friendship. And sometimes when people develop a friendship, their work ethic tends to slip a little bit, and their level of expectations about what they're accountable for slips a little bit. And so you have to make it clear, this is an environment where you are getting employed to do a job, to do it at a certain time, a certain location, and all of these different things. And if people are not meeting those expectations, then have a verbal warning, a written warning, and do all those steps to know that like if they don't do the job that was expected in the guidelines and in the contract, that you will just terminate the contract and move on to another applicant, because you can be friendly with your staff and you can be friends with your staff, but you have to also realize that this is a paying job that they're doing for you and it's not a favor. Do get liability insurance, WSIB, and a CRA account. Now, with these types of programs, if you choose to go with direct funding or family managed home care, you are technically a small business. This isn't like babysitting where you pay somebody in cash at the end of each shift and it's sort of a casual, informal position. You are a small business and therefore you have to have all of the credentials of a small business. So that means having liability insurance, usually to $2 million, which is extra money because most rentals and home insurance policies come with a $1 million, so you have to top it up to $2 million. And on top of which, you have to open up a WSIB account, which is Workplace Safety and Insurance Board, and you have to open up a CRA business account. And you have to make deductions from your staff's pay and pay into those accounts. So it's very much like running a small business, except you are the business. Your care is the business. But otherwise, it is all intentions purposes a small business, and you have to treat it as such when it comes to payroll and when it comes to having all the formalities and all of the liabilities that come with it. I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share this video to anyone that you think that might be helpful to. And please watch all my other videos and let me know in the comment section if you have any questions about hiring your own home care staff and what that entails, and I'll try my best to give you advice and to further elaborate on some of the topics. And if you have any horror stories about working with people in home care, please drop it in the comment section and let's discuss all of the trials and tribulations that comes with being a small business where you are the business. I'll see you in the next video, guys. Bye-bye. For information about all the programs discussed, please check out my website, Ontario Without Barriers, located in the description. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and turn on notifications. Tune in next week where we will discuss other resources for adults with physical disabilities.